So hello and welcome to another webinar session on Industry 4.0. Thank you guys for taking time and joining the webinar today. So my name is Abhishek and I'm part of the marketing and sales team at Factana. So today's webinar is a little special and we are going to be talking about the latest features of Fogwing IoT platform version 2.1. As always, I'll start with an introduction about the company. So Factana is the cognitive IoT company specialized in providing IoT-based Industry 4.0 solution to small, medium, and large enterprises. We are based in Bangalore, India, and Illinois, USA. As part of our Industry 4.0 offering, we are providing Fogwing IIoT platform, which is the no-code IIoT platform with an inbuilt and advanced IoT data analytics studio for data visualization and better decision making. Along with Fogwing, we also provide SaaS-based industrial IoT solutions called Fogwing Eco, Sfactrix, and Fogwing Asset Plus. So Fogwing Eco is the plug-and-play industrial air pollution monitoring solution. Sfactrix is the smart manufacturing solution for industrial enterprise. Fogwing Asset Plus is the AI-powered asset condition monitoring solution. The webinar will be presented by the founder and chief of Factana, Mr. Hariharan Ganesh. So let's get started with the webinar. Hari, over to you.
Thank you, Abhishek. Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, wherever you are connected from. So we are excited to, we have been working on constantly update and upgrade our features and functions of the platform. And recently we released the Fogwing Industrial IoT Platform 2.1, which has a lot more freedom and flexibility in IoT implementation and building solutions. But before we get into that, just wanted to recap where is industrial IoT and how it is different from others. Generally, there are a lot of IoT platforms. There are a lot of IoT use cases for different requirements. But from Factana standpoint, we are more focused on industrial IoT to enable industries to leverage the IoT technologies for automation processes. Industrial IoT, generally referring, is a combination of IoT data processing and application experience solution, which should adapt or should solve the automation requirements and business enhancement requirements for the industries with the scalability and with scalability, security, and performance, high performance. With that focus, every feature that we are introducing in the product are very intent to solve the industry problems and help the industrial business owners and technologists to easily adapt the platform that we are providing. As part of that, we have providing a specific focus area that edge and device management, the base or the foundation, device management capability required for any IoT platform. In advance to that, we also provide inbuilt data processing engine that manage the data and also the insights. End of the day, IoT is all about collecting data and presenting meaningfully and actionable insights. So that's the third portion. The larger portion on the last portion or the largest portion of the IoT value is on how this technology can solve the industrial cases and how we can address the industrial needs through applications. And that's where our application portfolios are coming into picture, like Sfactrix, Asset Plus products, and they're all more on the solving the industrial use cases directly or abstracting the underlying IoT technology challenges. So from 2.1, we have a newer architecture, this our enhanced architecture. This architecture is providing end-to-end of capability to build any build and solve any industrial IoT requirements and challenges, and easily without writing any code. So we are making 100% trying to make our platform as a no-code platform. So non-technical people can also come and build and deploy and run the IoT solutions easily. And we are still working on to solve a lot more challenges, and we continue to release our products with newer features. Every release that we are making, we are committed to deliver at least one feature or new feature into that. If you look at the platform architecture, So we are providing we'll start with the edge level or the device level. So we are providing the required, software or the firmwares for the edge level. At the as a SDKs, we are predefined SDKs, and we also having our own edge servers which are sitting on the edge computing side to collect the data and process the data at the on-premise itself using the edge computing services. And also, any or if customer is using predefined machines that can connect to any cloud, or the customer already have any IoT routers and devices, they can connect any devices to our platform. So we don't restrict any device communication aspect of that. So any device can connect. Users can also use our SDKs to build a edge level or device level programs, or they can use our edge servers, which is completely inbuilt for industrial connectors like OPC connectors and Modbus and other industry grade connectors protocols. So once the data is coming to the cloud, the next stage is on the cloud. And the cloud meant from the device management, right? Provisioning device access and receiving the data and providing access to the device to send the data to our cloud. And then how we are doing integrity check and security checks before we processing. All of them is bundled together as part of the backend process. Customer may not need or aware of need not build everything together. So we pre-built everything. So customer has to just register the device and create a provision the access to the device. Therefore, the device can start communicating to the cloud. And the inbuilt data integrity checks are making sure that there is no functioning or malscripts are coming into the system, and also enhancing the integrity of the data, make sure that the data is in clean before we get into the processing state. And all the device management access can be handled from the portal itself, in our portal itself. Once the device is provisioned and devices are able to send the data to the cloud, and that data has passed through our integrity checks, inbuilt integrity checks, which is basically a JSON structures, schema structures checks that we do that as integrity level. So every device that is sending data to the cloud, so must to our cloud, should send it in the format of JSON. This is to enhance the security as well. And then the third stage is the processing stage. And this is where the users, the development team, who is building the IoT solutions using our platform, can create there are certain data processing services. So one of them is the rules check. So basically you can validate the inbound data and check the particular key values and take some actions on that. Or the data validation can be done, and enrichment can be done with the help of data validation, such as you wanted to enhance a particular value conversion, data conversion, or arithmetic conversions, or any level, any calibration, the sensor calibrations that you wanted to do that at the software level at the cloud. You can configure that. So you don't need to do the sensor calibration at the device level. You can also do the sensor calibration at the cloud level if you want to do the software calibration aspect of that. And then the data gets stored within our inbuilt data storage capacity. So we have a hot and cold data storage. So all the data that goes into hot for a period of 90 days. And then goes into the cold storage, warm storage. Then after the year, it is going into the cold storage. So that's the inbuilt storage mechanism, and all our platforms providing lifetime storage capacity on that. So we have managed that with that. Once the data is stored, right? Once the data is stored, right? What is the next, right? The next is more on analytics, right? Or identifying the perform metrics out of that, or leveraging the data to come up with some meaningful insights about the manufacturing operations or industrial operations or any other cases, right? Any other IoT cases. So we have inbuilt analytic engine, so which is running on the time series based data system. Customer or users need not worry about that. It's inbuilt with this analytics system. So every data is getting metrics calculated and stored in the metrics in the table itself, and those data are getting populated into our dashboards that we provide with our system, the Analytics Studios dashboard. Suppose if the user wants to take the data out of our system and then they wanted to do it in their own custom applications that they're building, they they can use our API gateways, which introduced in 2.1. Earlier there was a API, but we introduced a API gateway to manage, give a better control and manage to the users. So the API gateway is introduced in 2.1, which allow to create different keys and access controls. And those key-based access can be used by any application systems to extract the data from our cloud and then use the data for display or storage or processing or whatever it is. And third one is the integration. We have enhanced our integration services, which previously the integration was more on API driven, but now we have made our integrations as more on the additional freedom to take the data to anywhere using Zapier and other things, which we will talk about that later today. So you can take your data from anywhere, from fogging to anywhere, and using Zapier and other systems. And that way, you have complete freedom to take the data to any third-party applications. Okay, so let's get into that. Since we are this session is more focusing on the demo aspect of that, so we will go with the minimum tech content and more on the demo. Let's take a look at first what we have added into the device management aspect of that. So from the device management aspect of that, we are dividing that into 3 categories. One is the device access. The device access is previously we were having a device access provided with the two-stage access. Now it's all one-click access. So when you're creating a device, that time itself your access can be provisioned by default in the system. Any device can communicate to our cloud using MQTT protocol or API interface. Now it's a key-based API, so device can easily communicate to our cloud consistently, and then the UDP protocol access as well. On the simulator side, we have introduced a new feature called a data mixer. Basically, it's a UI based simulation screen where users can simulate the data without writing even a JSON script. Previously, we were supporting only JSON script. Now we are introducing the data mixer feature, which allow the users, any non-technical users, to just to simulate the device data without writing any device program, so that they can understand how the data flows through the system and how they can apply the formulas, how they can apply the rules, and they can completely build the system even before they define the device side. So all of them can be done with the help of data mixer to validate the entire execution and workflows of the of your application and the data sets. The last one is on demand. So on demand commands, it means you can send a data back to your devices. It's not just a one-way communication from device to cloud communication, but you can also send the data back to your device through our command features. And this particular feature, user can trigger the command based on need. Basically, you want to turn off something or turn on something, so you can use the on-demand switch that provided. And also, you can write it based on the data that itself is coming into the system, which is already existing feature. The on-demand is a new feature that added recently, and that's going to enhance the way that you wanted to test your systems before even you deploy your devices to the field. Let's jump into the demo. So let me go to following, and then I go here. Okay, so I have already signed in. And here you can see I have pre-built a lot of devices in my test account, but I'm for this demo purpose, I'm just quickly going to make new applications. So very first step is you need to create an application as just a small fields. So I'm going to create a new application as field pipe monitoring, right? So I'm just saying that, and then this is a okay, I will just put it as a pipe. Copy paste this, and then I put it as a field pipe monitoring. So we'll just application is specific to water pipe. Okay, water file pipe data. Okay, all those water pipe monitor. That's my application. Department is engineering, or maybe I can put it as energy, and then location is let's put it as Bangalore. Okay, that's it. Okay, now I created the application. Application is basically a group of devices together. It's called as application. So now I have creating up Edge. This is a very simple step. So you need to create an edge. When you say edge, any devices, any Raspberry Pi or Arduino board or any other industry grade devices, anything that you consider as an IoT device, that we call it as an edge device, and it can be a complete edge computing device, or it can be a simple device that can send the data to the cloud. That device that connected with sensors. So this device is pipe. Okay, so I think I have the data. So pipe 200 M device. So pipe monitoring, pipe monitor, and then choosing the water pipe monitoring. And then I say that it's a router, it's a cellular. And then I can just create a UID. That's it. I can say that in latitude, longitude. One of the features that we introduced in this release is if your device is already sending, if your device is already inbuilt with the GPS, and then sending a data, and you can sending a data in latitude, longitude, and then automatically the data is getting updated in the field at the edge level. So whenever you go to the map, you can see the latest where your device is. This could be applicable to the moving device also, or moving moving assets, where you wanted to know that where exactly the asset is right now. You can use this field if the asset is sending the data along with GPS locations. So I can just say that simply this is 12 and minus 73. I think that's 24, 23, and 73. And then I select a payload, add a location payload, and then I also selecting a auto generate IoT hub access. This is an important feature because you don't need to go in a two-step process earlier to create an edge and then creating IoT hub. You can simply create it in one click itself. That being allowing you to automatically create the access for this particular device. Submit it. Your device is created. Pipe monitoring. Choose the water, and then cellular, generate a key. Okay, 12, 72.33, 12.21. Hopefully this should work. Okay, so I have created the edge. Now I have created the edge. To make this data processing work, you need to create the attributes. You need to define it. What are the different data sets that are coming from your device? So that's very important thing that for you to apply the simulators. Now, if you try to create simulating it, you may not see the visual way of creating simulators. So you need to have the attributes declared. So I'm going to create attributes here, a couple of attributes, just for showing that pressure. I'm just saying that pressure, and then choose a number. So it's, let's take 1000 psi, and then I wanted to say that it's pressure, right? Then it's analytical data. It's not synthetic, so I just synthetic is basically if you are creating a custom attribute, or you are creating a temporary attribute that is going to add enhanced value to that. That the synthetic attributes are the data that are not coming from the device, but you are basically calculating and creating it as additional attributes, and that you wanted to store it in your storage for processing. And this is part of our data processing requirement. So you can create attributes that are not coming in the device, but can calculate it based on the input data from the devices. So I'm creating a pressure, submitted pressure. So I have created the pressure data. So now very simple. Now we are going into the IoT hub access. Of course, the IoT hub access already created the data. And then we can see here the pipelines. Pipeline is here. So that's already created the data. Now, if you go here, you can also see the MQTT connections, where you can see the MQTT configuration, or you go to the same pipe, and then you go to the API access, and you can see the API interfaces also. But for first stage, right, we have created the application, we have created edge. Now we are going to create the simulation. So now the enhanced simulation feature is the 2.1 enhanced simulation feature is the data mixer. The data mixer is, as soon as you land in the Edge simulator page, the data mixer tab will display. You can switch between data mixer and JSONs. And this JSON is a previous one that already exists quite long. But now, we wanted to avoid this, even customer to avoid or user to avoid enter the data itself here, JSON data. So instead of that, they can use a data mixer. But this data mixer should be predefined with the attributes. So since I created the pressure attribute, automatically the pressure attribute is displaying here in the data simulator. So either you can directly enter the value here to simulate the data, or you can use a scale. So you can see here, the scale that I have created from 1 to 1,000, because I set it at the maximum value up to 1,000. So based on that definition in the attributes, the mixer is showing the range of that attributes. Now let's take, I'm saying the 236 pressure, right? And then I submit it, and automatically that data gets submitted. You can keep creating the data as it is in the screen. So it's predefined with your the device that you have selected, or if you want to select a different devices, you can select a different devices as well. So based on your device attributes, this screen will display the list of things, and you can simulate it how you wanted to simulate the data. So now I have published one data. Let's I will publish one more data just for metrics purpose. So now I have published the second data. So both data are published here. Now let's go and look at the data in the storage. So if you go to the data management menu, under which there is a storage, this is just to want to ensure that the data is there. Yeah, I see the data here. I use the data mixer. If you go and look at the data itself is published as a JSON structure. So this is how we are. The device is expected to send the data in a JSON format. This also gives you an indication on how the data should be prepared in the device level if you are doing a device level programs to send the data. So this simulator will also help you to understand how the structure should be. The lat and lang data that is added into that, even though I'm not passing that data in my attributes on the devices, but it is still getting added because we have added that as part of the declaration in the edge level. So that way it is getting added. If your device is already sending the data, and that data can also be updated in the edge level to give a traceability on the asset locations. Now the simulator functions are shown. So if you go to JSON, you can select the same pipe, but you need to manually enter the JSON. So if you are sending a large volume of data, but you don't want it to multiple keywords, but we don't want it to declare all the attributes, then you can use the JSON. You can use a JSON, or you can use a data mixer. It depends on what you prefer to do that. Next one is the command, right? The command is more on the how we are sending back the data or the command to the device, right? So now you can see here the new feature is that send now. So I will create a new command. So for the pipe monitoring, my command is buzzer or flush. Okay, I want to flush the pipe. Okay, so the flush it should be in a JSON format. So flush, or I can copy here, just put it there for better structure, and then I say that flush on. So when I say flush on, my device receives the command, and then it can execute the command through the controls. So if you are going here on demand, say that this is on demand, because this is the new feature that we added recently, and the on demand, and then you submit it. So this particular command is successfully added. Now you can see that command here. When you click on that flush right command, it automatically sends the command to that. So you can send it on demand. So you can come here, and if you want to trigger it out, or you can also send it through other modes, like I can show here, like the rule based or schedule based. You can send it any different ways. But for this demo purpose, I created this as on demand, and then you just simply type it, and it making sure that yes, it has to send it. Then it automatically pump the data to that. So basically, it's a data that goes through the same channel, the IoT Hub access and MQTT channel, to the devices, as you can see in the architecture diagram that we have shown. So that way, you can send the command back to that. Now going back to the presentation. Okay, so we have looked at We have looked at the device access simulator with the data mixer. That's a new feature added, and the on-demand command execution through the platform. Now, this is all on the device and related communications, right? So let's go to the next level, which is more on the data management aspect of that. Few release back, we introduced the formula, but we have enhanced the formula functions to have more solid, arithmetic based values. Default values, if you are not sending a particular data, but you want that to be added as a static value to your payload, you can define it in the using formula and attributes. And also you can send it through the fixed key values. Means if you wanted to send a particular fixed key values through formulas, you can send it. So formula is arithmetic way of calculating your data or calibrating your data into a different level, or enhancing your data to the different level to send that. But it is more on arithmetic based. It's not a text based, it's more on arithmetic based, but you can also enhance the text contents as well. Next one is the data rules. This is the existing feature on the data rules, but we introduce a new way to control the data alerts. Basically, we introduce a new way to control data alerts by giving options for the user to see whether they wanted to send the alert only once in a day, or they wanted to send the alert in always, as in every data. Okay, technically or previously it was more of always data. Every data that compromise on the data rule is triggering an alert. But now we have added this feature of one time per day, because a lot of times we may know that this is how the data is coming on a particular window time, and we don't want to act on that, right? So you may define certain alert as an info alert. You don't want that to be constantly coming on an entire day, right? And every data that's coming into the system, into the cloud. So you wanted to send it as once per day, so you can send it as, now that option is introduced in 2.1. And also the analytics has been enhanced to give little more control on the features, which is already existing. Analytics is more on business user friendly application. That's a separate UI provided for the business users to go and look at the IoT data, because IoT data, even though the data and configuration is more on technical, the data, the value of the data is going to the business users to look at how the different things are performing in their business. So the business user need more solid platform. So we created that as a separate studio where business users can go and look at the data aspect of that. So let's take a look at that and what we have in the formulas. So now if you go back to the application, go to the data management, and then you can see here the formula. The formula feature is more on arithmetic based calculation, but you need to have a proper calculation has to be happen, right? So let's take the device that we created now. So we created a pipe device, right? And then where we have created a attribute as a pressure. The pressure is coming from the sensor on the pipe, and that is being sent to the cloud. But I wanted to do some additional calculation on that, because the sensor that's sending data is not accurate. Over the period, the sensor may lose their life, and then it may sensitivity may go down. And we know that exactly this is basically this is all going down in particular percentage on that. Suppose if you want to calibrate it, right? You wanted to calibrate it as a software calibration, not hardware calibration. So calibrate the data based on your observations, and you don't want it to go to the field to do that work, but you know that exactly it's reduced to 10% based on the usage. So you can increase that. So let's take cal pressure. Okay, so I'm just declaring another attribute as a cal pressure, and then I'm saying that number. So sorry, 1 to again 1000, and then it's a PSI. So this is calibrated one. So I'm declaring this as a synthetic, right? If you're declaring as a synthetic, you need to define it as default value 0, and then I say that minimum to 0 to 1000, and then cal pressure. So this calibrated pressure value, right? I wanted to create it. This data is not coming from the device, so but I need to create it in the cloud. So what I'm saying is, I create this submit. Now I declare that as a synthetic. You can see here this particular attribute is declared as a synthetic attribute, right? Now if I go to the formula, then go here, now you are adding a new formula, right? Each formula that you're adding will apply to the particular set of device. Okay, and then therefore, I'm selecting the pipe that we created it. Now you can see here there's a target attributes. Target attributes is basically the attribute what you wanted to calculate and set the value, right? So I created a cal pressure, which is a synthetic attribute. For the cal pressure, calibrated pressure, I wanted to calculate the pressure value multiplied by, or I wanted to say that, pressure value plus 10, because I am saying that 10 points is reduced. So I want to enhance the 10 points here. If this formula is not executing properly, I want to set it as a default value is 0. So basically, I'm enhancing the inbound pressure value from the sensor with additional values. So you can do like, as the examples given here, you can change, you can calculate voltage, you can calculate temperatures, you can do different formulas. If you have a different formulas that you want to calculate from pressure to different values for your industrial use cases, you can also use this arithmetic formula feature to add it. So this will enhance the data that is coming from their system. So now we have added the synthetic, right? So now if I go here in the simulator and then I select the pipe, right? You can see here the synthetic is not displaying because the data mixer is basically for the data that is coming from the device, right? We are basically simulating the device, so it is only providing the device data. So I'm saying that, let's take once again, I'm putting that is 201 value that I'm submitting here. Now this has been submitted. Now going back to the storage, I should see the new values coming here. Now if you go here, you can see here the calibrated pressure. So we are sending the pressure data is coming from the sensor, but the calibrated pressure data is 211. So your basic data will also there, your calibrated data will also there. This is the synthetic variable that we added here, and this is a feature of the formula to enhance the value and create a new attribute so that you can use a new attribute for your metrics and other data presentation purpose. So now this is based on the formula. It's on the fly. It get calculated and stored into the system itself. Now the same can be enhanced and seen in the analytics also. Next one is data rules, right? So let's go to the data rules. The data rules also is part of the data management. You can see here. So once you define the formula, now next bigger thing you can do that is data rules, right? So I already created a lot of data rules, but I just wanted to create a new one for here, and you can see here the pipe again. It's based on the device. So you can see here, the data rules is based on all your attributes, right? The attributes that you are declared. You can create a custom entry also, but you can also use the existing one. Let's take, I wanted to calculate based on the calibrated pressure value, because that's what the actual value that is coming from the that's the enhanced value that is coming from the device, right? So I'm saying that let's take, this one. I wanted to measure it. If more than 700, I want a alert. It's info alert. So I have options because I have a premium account. I have option to send it by SMS, email, and all other things. So let's take, I put it as an email, and then I put some kind of, email ID. And then, I'm going here, and here, this is a new feature that we added recently. And this is all about, how frequently you want this alert to be coming. If it's an info alert, right, it need not be a critical one, right? I don't want to receive that always, right? I don't want to go and check I don't want to use my SMS. I don't want to use my email account to dumping every data coming in that, right? It's an info alert. Anything less than, pressure level is, greater than 700, I don't need to worry about that. Or less than 700, I don't need to worry about that, whatever case you want to do that, right? So that is on the info alert. So I'm saying that it's by default, it's a once a day. So you can also select always, depends on how you are setting it up. This particular data it calculates once a day, it will send the alert. If it is repeatedly coming the data, it will not send the alert. So you need to define it based on your use cases and then set it up. If you want always the alert, you can select the always alert. So every data that is coming into the payload, that's getting triggered as alert to you or action to you. Now I have created this. So this particular thing is created. So whenever the data is going, right? So 700 and above, right? This is supposed to create a alert, right? So let's go to the simulator again. Choose this device, and then I'm saying that anything about 700, right? So I'm saying that 710. So now I created the rule based on the calibrated pressure, but I'm setting a pressure as 710, right? So this is already beyond the 700 value, but it will also add the calibration pressure, the synthetic and formula calculation, add another 10. So it becomes 720 there, right? So now if I go to the data storage, and I'm going to see the new value, and then I see here is a 720 is there. It is already enhanced beyond the alert. But where is that alert is? So you go to this icon where you can see here the alert already sent. The alert is already sent. That's why this alert notification is indicating that the actual data value that we set it up as 700, but the actual value is and the stream value is 720. So it is actually sending an info alert in a few seconds back, and this has triggered alert to outside, right? So this is the way the data rules are working, and it's only sends once, right? So if it is multiple times the data is coming, it will not send the alert at all. Okay, so that way it is getting executed. But also you can also see here the command also, that we have executed before earlier. The command also, you can see it here. The command executed time 12 minutes before it was executed by us as a flash on. So this kind of comments also, you can see it in the notification screen. Now the last one is the on this Analytics Studio. So you can click on the Analytics Studio. It take you to the Analytics Studio where you can login and you can see your data. So we already have a separate demo explicitly for this one. I'm not going to cover this today due to time crunch because we have a lot more to discuss on the following itself. So if you want to explore about this, you can also go to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can also watch the Analytics Studio, complete Analytics Studio demo on how to set it up and down. Going back to the presentation again, let me run this. Okay, so we have looked at all the three. Now, in 2.1 onwards, we have introduced two more features, right? So the integration capability has been enhanced. Earlier, we provided the option to export the data from Fogwing using manually. User can go to the export button and then click on exporting data. But also they can use the APIs that we provided earlier. Those APIs are more token-based APIs that we provided earlier. So user can go and access the data, or any system can access the data and extract the data from the platform. But now we have introduced a key-based access, because we don't need it if you're constantly pulling the data from the platform, from our platform, then you don't need to change the token every time. You don't need to create a token every time. You can use key-based key-based access. That key will be a one-time key, and every time your application or your job or process that can pull the data or as and when needed. And also we have enhanced our API access with the IP restrictions. If you want to enforce a set of IP restriction that your APIs should only be accessible by a particular IP address, then you can define that also. That's part of our API enhancement feature, and this is part of our API gateway based integration. So you can manage your keys and you can execute things. And the second one is that we have introduced a Zapier integration. Zapier is a third-party integration marketplace where you can connect 4,000 plus applications. Between application to application integration, you can create it. We have published Fogwing into the Zapier marketplace. So now using Zapier, you can also extract the data from Fogwing and send it to any of the 4,000 applications that are already available in the Zapier. And you can send it to any storage cloud or any chat tools or any other application system that you have created that are already available, or you are using any SaaS applications already, like invoicing or analytics SaaS applications, you can send the data to those applications through Zapier. And we also providing a pre-built templates on the Zapier side as well. So let's go and look at this feature. This is an interesting area for us, as we have continuously investing and enhancing the integration capability and giving the freedom for our users to take the data to anywhere that they want to take it. So let's go to the API gateway. So to go to the API, right, to understand the APIs, you need to go to administration, and then you have to go to settings, and then in the settings you can see the API keys. So if you are a community user, you will still have access to the API keys. You can create the API keys, but you may not be able to customize the templates, which I will talk about later, that you can use the API keys to define it. So now I already have created the 2 API keys here. I can keep adding a number of API keys, depends upon the different needs that I have. You may create the API keys specific to the type of APIs that we are providing, or maybe specific to your different needs. So let's take, this particular API that I wanted to show this here. So this API is a key created, a unique key is created, automatically the key is generated here. And then this API there is no restriction applied to this API. It means this particular, using this key, anyone can access the APIs that provided in Fogwing without any restrictions, right? Anybody using in your organization using keys, they can access it. But if you want to apply a specific restrictions, right, this particular key should apply to a specific API, you can select that. Let's take, I wanted to provide this key only to the IoT Hub API, okay, which is where the device is communicating with our cloud, right? And device access and device provisioning aspect of that. So if you wanted to restrict this key only to this particular API, you can restrict it, just update it, or you can add a new key, and then you can say that, just created a new key, and then you can go and edit it as per your need. So one click, you can create a key, and then you can manage the key. So now third key, right? And I wanted to apply that to the data storage, because this is where this is the API that help you to extract the data from our system. So from our storage. So you can use this API to extract the data. But you wanted to apply this key only to that particular storage. Not only that, if you want to apply to a specific IP address, because this is data extraction, right? You don't want somebody taking your data using your keys from anywhere else, right? You want that to restrict it. You can enter your IP address of that, your system IP address, or the device or system that connects to the API to get the data. So whenever the request coming from this particular IP address, that only this key will be working. Others, this key will not work. So your key will not be compromised. Even if your key is compromised, still you can control it with the IP-based access. Right now, we are supporting IPv4 address only. We are working on enhancing this feature to include IPv6 as well. So once we added that will give a lot more control on which API can access and things like that. So now update it. So that way, the keys are getting generated. Once the keys are generated, you can access this APIs, right? So, and APIs are part of the IoT Hub Ads access and other things, right? So you can go here, and then you can look at, let's take, this particular data, and then API access, where you can see the IoT Hub and data storage. Both are there. You can click on Swagger, and then it shows the Swagger model, where if you go here, and you can see the key-based access. Earlier, we were only showing the token-based access, the first two things. Now you have a key-based access as well. So you can send key-based data also here using the keys. That way, you can use any of your custom programs to call our APIs and pull the data out or send the data to the platform. Your device can also communicate. If your device is not capable of sending data in MQTT, you can still use the APIs to send the data, and device can always send the data using the keys. And we recommend that to use the keys going forward, as we might deprecate the token-based approach for the security enhancements. That way, you have access now. That's on the API. So you simply can access the API. Any general API programs can access, any client can access it, and keys are already available here. The keys can be copied here, and then you can take it up from there. So any of your team can have access to the APIs anytime, and then they can build their solutions. Now, in terms of the Zapier, right? To go to Zapier, on the 2.1, there is no direct indication that you may see the Zapier here, but we are introducing the Zapier inbuilt for, provision in 2.2, which is coming up in a couple of weeks from now, or in next week by now. So, but before that, right, if you wanted to go and look at Zapier, right, let's go quickly look at Zapier. We are also planning to conduct a separate webinar or session for Zapier alone, how we can use the Zapier and different things. But I wanted to quickly show you a demo on Zapier here. So Zapier, once you go to zapier.com, you simply go to zapier.com. Just, you go to zapier.com. Let me do that work. Let me log out. Okay, so you go to Zapier, and then you go to the apps that works with Zapier. So you select it here. And then you can see here, if you go here, apps, you can see all the apps available here. So you can select the Fogwing, and then automatically it will take you to the Fogwing page. And then you can see all our templates that already created for the MongoDB, and then all our actions and triggers and things like that. Okay, so you can use that. But for now, quick demo, right? I'm going to here Zapier, and then I continue using my Google account. Not this one. I'm using mail ID. Okay. Okay. Okay, so now I'm in my Zap. So I'm going to create a Zap. Okay, so create a new Zap. So in the Zap, I'm going to select a application. So in that application, I'm going to select a Fogwing. So let's take, I'm creating a Fogwing, right? So I wanted to select a Fogwing. So you have a Fogwing latest, and then you are going to select a triggers. The trigger is the inbound data. So as of now, you are using Zap, you can extract the data. You cannot send data to Fogwing as of now, and we are working on to enhance this feature as well. So you can extract the data from Fogwing to any application that's supported by this Zap. So you take your data, inbound device data, continue, and then you you choose the account which you wanted to integrate with. So I have already predefined account. So this is where you are providing Zap to access your Fogwing account, through which only it can connect to the Fogwing using your account. So now it's connecting. Now it's asking the edge UI, because every data that you want to extract from Fogwing using Zap, you need to define it which device data that you want to extract. It doesn't take all the device data equally. So you need to create at the device level to give an. So I am going back to the edge, and then I am looking at this particular edge, right? So this particular edge is what we have created, right? The pipe edge. So I'm taking the UID and coming here, and then feeding that data here. That's it. Continue. Now this gives you access. So you can now see that, from Fogwing to the Zapier, the connection is establishing for the given device. So just to test a trigger. So this basically validates the connection between your account and Zapier, and the data is already coming. So the data is found. So this is good. So now Fogwing side, it's good. Now you can send this data to any one. I'm probably sending that to G Sheet. So when you go to G Sheet, and then you select add a row, spreadsheet row, and then you select continue, and then you choose an account. So I have another account, G Sheet account, which I selected. Again, this also you can set it up by yourself, and then you choose the drive. So I have a Google Drive, and then I'm selecting the spreadsheet that I wanted to send it. I already have a spreadsheet there as a Fogwing data log. So this particular spreadsheet is where the data will get added. As and when the data coming to the Fogwing from your device, that data will be transferred to this particular G Sheet or Google Sheet, and then get stored in the sheet. So you can take your data as and when you want to. Now app ID, right? So I select the app name, and then UI ID, I select it from here, from the data that I'm seeing here, the different data sets I'm seeing here, UID, and then I'm selecting the payload, right? If I want to select a payload, then I select a payload as a pressure. You see that pressure here that we created their attributes, calibrated pressure and pressure. So I want to take calibrated pressure, right? Because now I have enhanced it. Then continue. That's it. So that's all. It's all configured. Test and continue. So this configuration is also validated. Now turn on the Zap. So then now Zap is ready. So it will be published as a process. Now Zap is on, right? So that means this particular pipe data. Okay, just put it for better understanding. Okay, now this is the Zap is live. So whenever we are sending data, that data will go into the Zap. Okay, using Zap, that data will go into the data pipe storage area. So this is how you can integrate your system. There are documentation available, so you can go through that. Even in Zapier itself, there is documentation available on how to do this step by step if you are interested to try this feature quickly. Now go back to our presentation. Okay, so the last few things, right? So Zapier, we talked about that with all the 400 plus. So basically, you can send any device, any using, you can use any IoT network or cellular communication or any type of communication. Send any device can send the data to Fogwing. That data gets stored in Fogwing. That data can be processed and then sent to any of the 4,000 applications available in Zapier through Zap network. So you can Zap pipelines, you can send the data to that. So you have complete freedom to send data from anywhere to anywhere using the combination of this Fogwing and Zapier. The rest of things are administration controls. So from the user management, we have given the user access, different user access, admin to admin access, and then viewer access. We are also coming up with the developer access. A new feature is coming up in subsequent releases. We have an activity log, which you can also see that. And then in the emails, if you wanted to send a custom emails to your customers and you want to use your own email ID, you can set your own email servers and email templates and to send the data or alerts to your customers. If you are building the IoT solution for your customers and you don't want that to be sending from the Fogwing and you want to use your company email ID, you can create it using email servers and templates. Let me show that quickly. So if you go to the administration and then you go to the settings, you can see here activity log. You can see all the activities. It's more of read log, so you can see whatever actions that we have created. You see that I have created the API keys to demonstrate that, so that's also getting logged here. And also you can also go to the users, add a user, and then you can create a users. Two type of users can be added now. And we are going to introduce a new type of user. So when you are creating a user, make sure that you are giving a proper email ID, because this also requires some kind of a verification. So if you are giving a proper email ID, then only you can add the users. If you make any mistake in the email ID, then you may not able to, the user may not be able to access the system. The last one is the email, right? So email servers. So email server is something as I talked about, right? So you wanted to send the data or notification to your customers from your company email account instead of Fogwing default email account, right? So you wanted to enhance that, you can use this feature. So you need to configure the email server which you want to use it. You can use Gmail, Office 365, or any SMTP server that you are already using for your email servers. You can configure that. So you may set the name for that and then select the SMTP server and set the basic configuration. As soon as you configure, you can test the connection. If the connection is established, then that means the email server setting is done. Once you have set it up this in your account, right? In your account, you set it up. Then after that, every data alert that goes from this particular account, your account, will use only your email servers. If you configure this wrongly or your email server is not working properly, then you may lose the data. It means you may lose the notifications that are coming from the following. So make sure that you use a solid email server, and then it's working 100%, so that you don't miss any data. by default, we are our services are pre-built with our own SMTP servers. But if you are using yours, then you are responsible for your email notifications. But of course, if you want to fall back, you can just delete it. So automatically it will fall back to the default fogging setup. That's on the email servers. And similarly, you can also enhance your replies. So outgoing emails, you wanted to create a template and you want to use a template. So we have templates created, predefined templates. Let's take data rule alerts. For the data rule alerts, we have predefined template. If you want to customize this template according to your need, you can also do that here. So once you updated it, every time when the data alert is going, that will use only your email template. So it will not go by default following template or anything like that. So you can change this according to your needs and other things. That's on the settings aspect of that. Then finally, I just wanted to cover up before we wind up this session. So in terms of the support, right? In terms of the support, so we have enhanced our support capabilities. We are providing a 3 different way to support our customers, users. Either you are a community user or a paid user, doesn't matter. Our technical support team always supports you. So we have a 24/7 email support. So you send an email to us to support@fogwing.net, or you can use our the dashboard itself, the portal itself, to send a support ticket. So your support will be automatically addressed by our technical support team. Also, we have a 12/7 phone support, but it's only for the paid customers on the growth plan paid customers, or on full dedicated server customers. But of course, the phone support is also available for the paid customers. On-demand chat support, right? We have inbuilt chat support. If you go to the Fogwing portal and you go to the administration and the support, then as soon as you land in the support page, you can see here the chat window also available. So you can also, through chat, we can talk to our technical team, and then you can also submit your support ticket here. So through this also you can submit your support ticket. If you don't know what email ID you wanted to send it, you can use this support submission feature to send that ticketing. So apart from that, we also have a training. So we are constantly conducting a training sessions, live online training. We are in a monthly 2 training sessions are happening. It's a completely free training, so anyone can join and learn about our product and features and how we can use this platform. And we also have an online training, which is like LMS based training. So you go and register and you can do that. So our training is academy.factornerd.com. So you can use that to learn by yourself. Or if you need a specific support in terms of training to your team, you can approach us and we will do the on-demand customer specific training. We also have a knowledge base, not just a training and support. You can also go through our documentation, technical articles, and technical bots. Just go and Google it, Fogwing documentation, you will get it. Fogwing articles, you will get it. So, and the chat window that I already showed, that automated bot-based chat services, you can also using that to reach us out to get the knowledge on that. So we provide all different way to support you in terms of your project and execution and successfully making your IoT solutions scaling up and running for your success. Now it's a question time, and please feel free to approach us. If you have questions, if you're watching this video in our YouTube channel, you have questions, of course, you can reach us out in 2 different ways. Over to you, Abhishek.
Thank you so much, Hari, for the insightful demonstration of Fogwing IIoT version 2.1. So folks, you can start shooting your questions. As you know that we have exceeded the time. We will be still answering few of your questions, but again, as Hari mentioned, you can come back to our YouTube channel and then post your comments there, and we will be responding to that. I have already got one question. Okay, so should I be a paid user of Fogwing and Zapier to use the Zapier integration service?
No, any community users can use that. It's completely free for community users, so you can use that. And Zapier may have some kind of a limitation in terms of free account. You can still use Zapier for free as well, but it may have some kind of a Zapier specific limitation, number of traffic and other things. You need to look at it in the Zapier side. But of course, for us, we don't restrict anything on that.
Thank you, Hari. So another question, how do I disable the API key keys after usage?
Oh, you have option to disable it. So I can quickly show that out. Go to the settings, and you can go to the API keys, and then you can just deactivate the key. So when you deactivate the key, automatically this key is not active. It will not be enabled. So community users can create up to 2 keys, but paid customers can create n number of keys. So so if you are a community user, you can only create 2 keys. You cannot create more than 2 keys. So you need to be very cautious on number of keys that you are creating it. And you can deactivate the keys like this. So you can deactivate it. So this key becomes deactivated. You can see here it's become red marked since it is deactivated.
Thank you, Hari. One more question. Is there any expiry period for API keys?
Oh, no, there is no expiry period for the keys.
Thank you, Hari. I think that's all the questions that we have for now. Guys, if you have any more questions, you can, again, as mentioned, come to our YouTube channel, watch the video, and then post as a comment, and then we'll be responding to that. Or you can write to us at info@factorna or sales@factorna.com, and we'll be responding to your questions. So I think it's time to wind up. Thank you again. Thank you so much for joining the webinar today, guys. So if you have any questions, as mentioned, you can reach out to us, or you can also reach out to us through the chat support system that's there in the fogwing.io website. Thank you again. Have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye.